Welcome back, everybody. Today we're going to do a deep dive into the story of Vyacheslav Krasheninnikov. Sometimes he's called Little Vyacheslav or Slava,
Oh, okay.
and he was a Russian boy who
Okay.
died in 1993
Okay.
when he was just 10 years old.
Wow.
But before he died, he left behind a collection of prophecies.
Hmm.
A lot of them were about the end times
Okay.
and his pronouncements. They're still intriguing people all around the world today.
Yeah, I can see why.
And they've really sparked a lot of debate and even devotion to this boy.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, and what makes this deep dive even more interesting is we're not just looking at his words, the prophecies themselves,
Right.
but we're also going to look at firsthand accounts,
Oh, okay.
mainly from his mother,
Hmm.
and try to look at the different interpretations of what his prophecies could mean.
So it's like we're trying to put a puzzle together
Yeah.
where some of the pieces are super clear and others are like shrouded in symbolism, almost like a riddle waiting to be solved.
I like that analogy.
Yeah.
I think that really captures the essence of what we're going to be doing today.
Okay.
So to start,
Yeah.
let's rewind all the way back to Vyacheslav's early life.
Okay.
So he was born in 1982.
Right.
And get this, he started prophesying when he was 5.5 years old.
Wow, that's young.
I know, right? Not your typical kindergarten conversation.
Definitely not.
But, his story isn't all doom and gloom.
Oh, okay.
He was also said to have a gift for healing.
Oh, interesting.
So,
So there are accounts that he was actually able to
Yeah.
diagnose and heal people,
Oh, yeah.
offer guidance, and even perform acts that some would consider to be miraculous.
yeah. And it's fascinating because he used a whole bunch of methods, right?
Right, like what?
He used prayer,
Okay.
holy water, oils,
Hmm.
herbs, and he would really emphasize the importance of frequent communion
Okay.
and last rites.
Got it.
Now, his followers, they refer to this period, which lasted 5.5 years until his death from cancer,
Okay.
his mission.
Is a mission. Okay.
So we have this young boy living this short but, intensely meaningful life,
Right.
making these extraordinary claims.
Yeah.
And of course, this caught the attention of the Russian Orthodox Church.
Okay, and what did they think?
Well, they weren't exactly thrilled
Oh.
with Vyacheslav's growing following
Yeah.
and the veneration that he was receiving.
So they saw him as a threat.
They did. They saw it as a threat, and they accused his supporters
Mhm.
of spiritual blindness
Wow.
and fanaticism.
So what do you think about this strong opposition from the church?
It's a key element of the story.
It is.
They perceived Vyacheslav's popularity and that people were viewing him as almost like a saint
Right.
and a challenge to their authority.
Makes sense.
But there's another viewpoint that suggests
Look.
that maybe the church's stance was also influenced by concerns about donations
Oh.
and the shift of pilgrims
Mhm.
away from established
Yeah.
religious sites.
Okay. Interesting.
So right from the start, we have these conflicting perspectives,
Oh, we do.
which really adds to the whole complexity of this deep dive.
For sure.
So let's shift our focus now
Okay.
to Vyacheslav's prophecies.
Okay, so he didn't just talk about his own illness in passing.
He didn't. He actually seemingly predicted both.
Wow.
But he also made some pretty alarming predictions
Okay.
about world events.
Like what?
And surprisingly, this is where his story starts to intersect with some big names in Russian religious history.
Oh, really? This is where it gets interesting.
It does. So there's this account of a monk
Okay.
who in 2002 had a vision of the Virgin Mary.
Okay.
And in this vision, she was presenting Vyacheslav as someone who would save Russia and other nations.
So it's almost like she's
It's like a scene
pointing to him
right out of a religious painting.
as this like symbol of hope.
Exactly.
Wow.
And so this vision, are you saying that this links Vyacheslav back to prophecies made by people like Saint Seraphim of Sarov
Yes,
and Tsar Nicholas II?
exactly.
So they were talking about
They were.
a special boy
Mhm.
who would save Russia
Mhm.
from a time of hardship.
That's right.
And it gets even more interesting.
Oh, wow. So.
Tsar Nicholas II, the last Tsar of Russia,
Okay.
he connected Vyacheslav to the miracle of Fatima.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, the miracle of Fatima
Mhm.
was a series of Marian apparitions that happened back in 1917 in Portugal.
Right.
And Tsar Nicholas II believed that one of these Fatima prophecies mentioned a boy
Okay.
who would signify the end of Russia's suffering.
Interesting.
Now, whether or not this prophecy is actually part of the Fatima message is debatable,
Right.
but it highlights how Vyacheslav's supporters are trying to put his story within a larger context of religious narratives.
Yeah, like they're trying to connect him
It's like
to a lineage.
they're trying to build a spiritual lineage, right?
Yeah.
Connecting him to other chosen individuals
Mm-hmm.
who would alter the course of history.
Right.
So this raises the question.
Yeah, what did he actually say?
What exactly did Vyacheslav predict about the end times?
Yeah, what were his prophecies?
Well, he spoke about the rise of a new world leader
Okay.
that a lot of people believe to be the Antichrist, who would encourage self-indulgence
Okay.
and a rejection of traditional religious values.
So he's talking about someone who basically deceives people.
Yeah, and according to Vyacheslav, this leader would perform what would appear to be miracles.
Oh, wow.
So people would be deceived into thinking that he was their chosen deity.
So he's saying that people would think that this is Jesus.
Yeah, or
The
Muhammad.
Buddha.
Or Buddha, yeah, whoever they worship.
Wow.
So it sounds like he's talking about a world where faith and belief are being manipulated
Yeah.
and exploited for control.
For control, that's right.
He also warned about a system of control put in place by this leader.
What kind of system?
Universal passports
Passports.
and implanted microchips.
Like under the skin.
Yeah, and Vyacheslav's followers, they interpret these as the mark of the beast,
The mark of the beast.
which separates people
Okay.
and causes suffering and death.
So it's interesting how these prophecies,
Yeah.
especially the ones about microchips and passports,
Right.
really resonate with a lot of the anxieties that people have today about technology and control.
Yeah, especially with all the digital surveillance that's going on.
Right. It's everywhere.
And it goes beyond that.
How so?
He talked about global catastrophes,
Oh, no.
including earthquakes,
Earthquakes.
floods, fires, and even
Even what?
the death of the Black Sea.
The Black Sea.
Yeah. He said because of a hydrogen sulfide explosion,
A hydrogen sulfide explosion.
which just, taps into these fears that people have
Mm.
of environmental collapse
Right.
and societal upheaval.
So he had some pretty strong views about
He did.
wolf messing,
Yes.
the Soviet era mentalist.
Yes. So did his prophecies actually mention him specifically?
They did. He actually named Messing's followers as his enemies.
Oh, wow.
He claimed that they were servants of demonic forces.
Yeah.
And that they were using false miracles
Right.
to manipulate people and lead them away from God.
So he's drawing a line.
He is. He's saying, like, these are the forces of good. These are the forces of evil.
Right.
And there's no gray area.
Yeah. This really added fuel to the fire,
Yeah.
further complicating the whole debate about what's spiritually genuine
It does.
and what's deceptive.
Right.
So we've covered a lot of ground here,
We have.
but we're just getting started.
Oh, really?
There's more. There's so much more. We still need to explore Vyacheslav's claims about his unique origins,
Oh, okay.
his perspective on technology,
Interesting.
his warnings about demonic deceptions in the sky.
Demonic deceptions.
Right.
Okay.
And we're going to look at the lasting impact his story has had,
All right.
including his veneration as a saint in some circles.
Okay, I can't wait. We've really gotten into Vyacheslav's prophecies, but like, what about the boy himself?
Right.
Where did he think his abilities came from?
Well, this is where his story takes a turn towards the truly extraordinary.
Okay.
Vyacheslav claimed to be an angel
A name.
sent to earth by the Holy Trinity.
Wow.
He even told his mother that he was 150,000 years old
150,000 years old.
and that he had memories of his existence before birth.
That's wild.
I know, right? So these claims add a really fascinating layer to this whole discussion.
Yeah.
I mean, if we entertain these claims for a second,
Right.
we're not just talking about a boy who had, like, premonitions or a healing touch.
Right.
We're talking about a being with a celestial origin,
Yeah.
an angel walking among us.
Right. And it really, like, changes the whole
Yeah.
framework of how we approach the story.
Totally. And, those who believe in Vyacheslav's divinity,
Mm.
they see his whole life, including his early death,
Yeah.
as part of this larger preordained plan.
So they view his prophecies less as, like,
Yeah.
predictions and more as warnings.
Yeah, like messages from a higher power
Yeah.
urging humanity to change course.
Precisely. And his reported opposition to technology, that adds another dimension.
Right. He viewed computers and televisions as tools of deception,
Oh, wow.
pathways for demonic influence.
Interesting.
So this distrust of technology,
Mm-hmm.
especially alongside his prophecies about microchips and control,
Yeah.
it really resonates with those who see modern technology as a threat
Yeah.
to spirituality and freedom.
Right.
He even warned of demonic deceptions in the sky.
Demonic deceptions in the sky. What's that?
Well, some people interpret these as references to UFOs.
UFOs.
Or, extraterrestrial
Oh,
activity.
like aliens.
Yeah. So what do you make of these, more unusual
Right.
aspects of his prophecies?
Well, it's fascinating. It's like this blend of
Traditional religious beliefs with what some might call paranormal phenomena.
Right.
And it's not really uncommon, though.
Yeah.
When you look at these types of narratives,
Right.
it's a way of integrating contemporary anxieties and unexplained events into an existing belief system.
I see.
So, for example, Vyacheslav claimed that there were demons living on the moon.
On the moon.
Yeah, and these demons could project illusions into our sky.
Wow. So now let's jump forward to the present day.
All right.
Okay, so Vyacheslav has been gone for over 3 decades,
Long time.
but his legacy is very much alive.
Interesting. How so?
In some circles, he's actually venerated as a saint,
As is saint.
particularly in Greece, where he's been canonized.
Wow, so it seems like his impact is continuing to grow despite the church's attempts to, downplay his significance.
Yeah, it's quite remarkable, isn't it?
It is.
Despite the Orthodox Church's opposition, Vyacheslav's grave has become a place of pilgrimage.
A place of pilgrimage.
People visit seeking healing.
They take home earth and marble chips that they believe to have miraculous properties.
Really?
There are even accounts of icons associated with Vyacheslav beginning to stream myrrh,
Oh.
which, in the Eastern Orthodox tradition, that's linked to holiness.
I see.
So it really speaks volumes about the power of belief
Yeah.
and our enduring fascination with metallic.
Yeah, it's really interesting, too, that his prophecies,
Yeah.
especially the ones about digital identification
Right.
and the mark of the beast,
Yeah.
they seem to be finding new relevance
I know.
in our digital age.
We live in an era of biometric data, facial recognition,
Right.
constant online tracking.
It's kind of creepy when you think about it.
It is.
I mean, it's not hard to see how all these technological advancements could be interpreted through the lens of Vyacheslav's warnings.
Right, like this system of control
That is
separates
surprise-
those who conform from those who resist.
It's very us versus them.
Yeah, and his story also raises some really important questions about the role of faith and skepticism.
Mm-hmm.
You know how we interpret these extraordinary claims
Right.
and the influence that individuals, particularly children,
Right.
can have on our collective imagination.
Yeah, like whether we believe in them or not,
Right.
Vyacheslav's life and prophecies,
Uh-huh.
they provide a glimpse into some of the deepest
Yeah.
fears and hopes
Of our time.
of our time. That's right. And this is further emphasized
Wow.
by the fact that 2 books about Vyacheslav
Yeah,
have actually been included on a list of forbidden books,
I know.
which, that just adds to the mystique and controversy surrounding him.
Yeah, it's almost as if these attempts to suppress these narratives
Yeah.
only serve to make them,
More appealing.
more alluring and more powerful.
More powerful, yeah.
It's like this real-life mystery novel
It is.
filled with secrets and hidden meanings.
And this clash
Yeah.
between those who want to control information and those who are trying to find the truth.
Exactly. And within that context, I mean, whether we view Vyacheslav's prophecies as literal predictions or symbolic warning,
All right.
they tap into this very human need
Thank you.
to make sense of a world that can feel so chaotic
Yeah.
and unpredictable.
It's scary out there.
It is. And his story offers this narrative framework.
It does.
It's like a way of understanding both the anxieties
Mm-hmm.
and aspirations of our time.
So it's incredible how certain figures,
Yeah.
even children, can become these focal points for our collective hopes and fears.
So what do you think it is about Vyacheslav's story,
Well,
even decades after his death, that continues to draw people in?
I think it's a combination of things.
There's a sense of hope embedded in his story.
Yeah. Well, even in a world facing these huge challenges,
Right.
there's a force of good working to protect
Yeah.
and guide humanity.
It's powerful.
It's an undeniably powerful story, one that speaks to our need for meaning, our longing for connection to something larger than ourselves,
Yeah.
and our enduring fascination with the unknown.
It's true.
But let's not forget
Okay.
the specifics of his healing methods.
Right.
He didn't just rely on prayer.
What else did he do?
He used this blend of holy water, oils, herbs,
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
And he even provided, like, instructions for their preparation
Oh, wow.
and use. It's easy to get caught up in the big picture, you know, the prophecies and the controversy surrounding Vyacheslav.
Right.
But I think looking at his healing practices
Yeah.
offers a more grounded perspective.
More realistic, yeah.
It wasn't just about faith for him. It was about taking action.
So what do you mean?
Well, he actually gave specific instructions.
On how to gather and prepare these herbs.
Oh, okay.
And he emphasized that the person being treated,
Okay.
they should be involved in the process.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's this anecdote where he was telling his mother
Okay.
that this one herb, I don't remember which one it was,
Right.
but he was saying that it loses most of its healing properties
If you do what?
if it's dried.
Oh, okay.
So he insisted that it needed to be juiced
Uh-huh.
and stored in this specific way.
Interesting. So it's this blend of, like,
Fascinating.
the spiritual and the practical.
Right. It wasn't just about faith.
Hmm.
It was about harnessing the healing power of nature.
Yeah.
He even emphasized the importance
Of what?
of frequent communion and receiving the last rites.
So those are pretty important.
Right. These practices are core
Right.
to Orthodox Christianity.
Yeah.
But it seems like he was encouraging people to really take their spiritual well-being into their own hands.
And that might be another reason
Yeah.
why the church opposed him.
I think so, because he was kind of bypassing.
Yeah, he was saying, like, you have this direct connection with the divine.
Wow.
You don't need priests. You don't need these rituals.
That's a radical idea,
It's not
especially
popular.
the Orthodox Church, yeah.
Yeah.
So, in a way,
Mm-hmm.
Vyacheslav's teachings, his healing practices,
Yeah.
his emphasis on personal piety,
Right.
you could see them as empowering to individuals,
Yeah.
but maybe disruptive to the established religious order.
So no wonder he was so controversial.
Right, but let's zoom out for a second.
Okay.
Why should we even care about this story,
Yeah.
about this Russian boy who died over 30 years ago?
Right. Good question.
Like, what makes this deep dive relevant to us today?
Well, I think Vyacheslav's story,
Mm-hmm.
whether or not we believe in his prophecies
Right,
or his angelic origins,
right.
it gives us a really valuable opportunity for reflection.
Okay, I like it. Give us some homework here.
Uh,
What are some of those key questions we should be pondering?
Well, what is it about this story that's so captivating,
Mhm.
even decades after his death?
Right.
How do his prophecies, especially the ones about technology and control, how do they connect with current events
Yeah.
and cultural anxieties?
That's a good one.
What role does faith and belief play in how we see figures like Vyacheslav?
Right. Are we more inclined to believe
Yeah,
if we already have a certain worldview?
exactly. And maybe even more important,
Yeah.
what's the potential impact
Hmm.
of people, especially children,
Right.
who claim to have this extraordinary spiritual knowledge or these special abilities?
Right. His story isn't really unique in that sense.
Not at all.
Throughout history, there have been so many figures,
I know.
some very young,
Right.
who've claimed to have special insights or a connection to the divine.
So how do we approach these claims?
Right.
With open-mindedness, but also critical thinking.
These are questions with no easy answers.
Definitely not.
But I think grappling with them, exploring the different perspectives,
Yeah.
can help us understand
Understand what?
the interplay of faith, fear, and hope
Mm-hmm.
that shapes our world.
It's a good reminder that the most profound journeys,
Yes.
they start with a question,
Right.
a willingness to kind of delve into the unknown.
I love that.
Yeah. And maybe by exploring Vyacheslav's life and his legacy,
Yeah.
we can gain a deeper understanding of ourselves,
Mm.
our own beliefs,
Right.
and our place in this world.
Yeah, it's been quite a journey.
It has.
This deep dive into the world of Vyacheslav.
A fascinating one.
It's a story that really sticks with you.
Yeah.
It makes you question and wonder, and maybe even see the world a little differently.
Through a different lens.
Exactly. So until next time,
Yes.
keep exploring, keep questioning,
Keep diving deep.
and keep diving deep.